Welcome back. Today I'm going to attempt to solve some puzzles on chess.com. I've already pulled up the page here. For those of you that are new here, I am not a chess coach. I'm not a titled player. I'm just a random person trying to get better at chess. One of the ways that I do that is I try to solve puzzles. In my last video, chess.com didn't count the points for my first puzzle. It didn't even put it in my archive. Hopefully that won't happen here, but I did manage to cross 2,000 points in my last video. So hopefully I won't fail any of these and go below 2,000. I'm willing to bet that if I fail the first one, it will count it in my archive. But hopefully that won't happen. Let's see. I do have some checks in this position. I have to check with the rook on the back rank. Is that my only check? I think it is. I can take that pawn, but I can't check with my queen. I can't check with my knight. So it looks like the rook is the only check, and the knight hits that. And then I don't have a follow-up check because I've already said my other two pieces cannot check in this position. You know what? I don't have a check with the rook. My rook is pinned. Well, that's embarrassing. Okay. Well, that's one of the things you have to look for, not only in games, but in puzzles. So we do not have that check. However, I wonder about this. That threatens the queen. It tells it to move someplace. I suppose they could just take it, and I haven't really opened up anything for my queen there. Okay. I suppose I could block that pin with a pawn move, but that doesn't help a lot either, does it? What else can I do? I can move my king so that the rook isn't pinned anymore, but the only place I can move my king, they could check me, and then I would have to go back, because I'm not going to trade my queen for their rook at this time. What else do we have? I can threaten their queen. As I said, I can take that pawn, but I think they just take back, and I'm in the same situation I was in before, except without the knight. What happens if I threaten their queen? I suppose they could just move it back one, and they would still be pinning my rook. And from there I would have a check, and it would be protected by my queen. And when they moved out of check, my rook wouldn't be pinned anymore because the knight would be in the way. Okay, so that's not looking too bad. Do I have anything else? I think I mentioned that I could take this pawn, but that doesn't help, does it? It threatens a check, but they're just going to get out of check, and then my rook is still pinned. So I don't think I should start with taking that pawn. Now, if I happen to threaten their queen and they do happen to drop back one, then this check with the knight on d6 would be a fork of their rook and their king. So maybe they wouldn't back up one. Maybe they would come forward. But then that would still be a fork of their rook and their king, and it would still be protected by my queen. And then my rook wouldn't be pinned anymore, and when they moved over, I could check down on the back rank. Okay, so I think knight to b5 looks really good, but what I have to consider is what else can they do, or what else would they do besides the two moves I suggested. I suggested coming up here where they could continue guarding their rook. I suggested they might drop back so they could continue pinning my rook, and of course they would be threatening the knight there. I guess they could move over to b6, but that doesn't help. I don't know if that's my best move or not, but I can't find anything else, so I'm going to try it. If I'm wrong, I'm going to lose like 14 points or something, and I'll have to go to the analysis board and figure out why. But again, my idea is, looks like wherever the queen moves, I'll be able to check there on d6, which would fork the rook and the king, as well as unpinning my rook. So I'm going to try that. Well, that was right, and I had no idea they were going to come all the way up here. My queen is undefended. If I take my queen, if I take their queen, and they take back, then I don't have the fork anymore. Should I check first here? My rook is still pinned. Oh, wow. Then we're still even on material. Then I could check down here, but they would take it with their knight. So that's not good. If I check here first, when they move out of check, because they won't take with their queen, right? Because I would just take their queen for the knight. So they'll move out of check, then I'll get their rook, and then my queen won't be undefended anymore. So I am going to go to d6 with the knight. Fingers crossed. Oh, that did work. Now I'm going to take the rook. And then their queen, because I don't see anything better. Okay. Well, it shows that I got 5 points for that, but that's what it showed in my last video. So bear with me while I go to my stats page really quick. And as you can see, once again, my stats page shows that it did not count the puzzle. It shows that I have done no puzzles today. All the previous puzzles were the 4 that it recorded from July 20th. Even though I did 5 on July 20th. So yeah, once again, it did not count my points. So the 2006 that it shows here is not true. Thank you, chess.com. Theme was pin. Okay, there was a pin. There was a fork. All right. That's really frustrating and really distracting because now that's on my mind. Now when I go to the next puzzle, I don't know if it's going to count the points or not. Maybe they're trying to teach me very subtly that I shouldn't be focusing on the points, that I should be focusing on getting better at chess? And if so, I will try to learn that lesson. Oh, I dislike the ones where I start out in check, because usually there's several ways to get out of check and only one of them's right. But let's see, here I do not have several ways to get out of check. For example, I can't go there, there, or there, or there, or there. So I only have 2 ways to get out of check. I can go to c6 or c4, are the only 2 places I can move. Well, one of those is bad, and one of those is good. So, I mean, I think just instinctually, I would want to go to c4 because it's kind of trying to hide behind this pawn, and it makes me more able to go around and around the pawn. However, they do have follow-up checks if I go there. For example, they could check with the rook, taking my knight, because I wouldn't take back because their queen's guarding that square. Not only that, they could check back here with their queen. I would have to move again, and then they could start chopping off pawns. Well, not the b pawn because my queen's protecting it, but my f pawn certainly could be chopped off at that point. Okay, well, what about this? That would, I think, keep them from taking my knight, because then my king would be protecting my queen when I took back. Okay, so what about c6? I mean, they could check again. For example, they could check on f, whatever that is, f6, or they could check again here. But if they checked on f6, I could hide behind the knight, I guess. And if they checked on, or wait, let's see, or I could just come out this way or go back here or something. I don't know. But yeah, it looks like this one's bad because I lose my knight. So I'm going to go toward the knight. Remember, those are my only 2 choices. And again, if I'm wrong, I'll find out why. If I'm right, I expect that I will not get any points for it. Oh, I was wrong, but I did. Yeah, I lost 12 points for that. And you saw it went down to 1989. So I wasn't at 2006. I was at 2001. But I bet you $1 that this one shows up in my archives. Yeah, how about those apples? Look at that. It does show that I solved, or that I attempted one puzzle today and I got it wrong. So I've lost 12 points. I did not gain the 5 from the first puzzle. And as I said, that is kind of distracting. So, well, the only other choice was to go here. Was I wrong? Was there another choice? I thought we calculated that there were only 2 choices. Okay, I can't go there because the queen's guarding that square. The queen's guarding that square. My pawn's in the way here. The queen is guarding those 2 squares, and I can't capture it because the rook is protecting it. Wait, they're both wrong? What am I missing? Can I... Oh, my pawn. Oh, my goodness. Well, I said it was hard not to be distracted by the point problem, but it was the pawn move, and that was it. That was the whole puzzle. And that puzzle was rated 1891. Well, this video is off to a very rocky start. So hopefully that's fun content for you. What do I have? I can take their rook, I can take their queen, because, oh no, I can't take their queen. My rook is pinned here. I can take the rook though, but that leaves my queen undefended, right? If I take their rook, they take my queen, then I could take their other rook with check, and then they would get out of check. Wow. Oh, I do have a check though. I wonder about that as an in-between move. If I check there, will they move out of check? Well, they can't move out of check here because my queen's cutting off that square. So they could move out of check, but if they did, I could check again. Okay, so I suspect what they would do is take with the rook. Then when I take here, it's check, and I win their queen. Well, I've already lost a bunch of points, and I've already messed up this video, so let's just try that. Oh, that was right. And then this must be right, and then taking their queen must be right. Okay, well, I got 5 points for that. If this is running like it did the other day, only that first puzzle won't count, and this one will count. Okay, it did count. And yes, because they keep messing up, I'm going to keep checking that. So I'm glad I solved it, but it's really frustrating. Oh, that one only had a pass rate of 32%. You can't see that. Okay. Well, I'm happy that I solved it. Let's see. They're threatening here. I can take it, and their bishop is pinned. Should I take here, or should I take here first? That's the question. I could take here, and then the king gets out of the coming check, which I'm about to do here. If I take the pawn first, I think their king escapes. And if I go back, no, I don't know. Does it make a difference? I should check first, though. Nothing's protecting that bishop. And the king can't escape this way or this way, and they can't block. They'll have to go to the side. Check. King has to go to h1. I'm positive. There's no other legal moves at that point. Then I can check with the bishop. King can't come over, can't come out because my rook will be hitting those 2 squares. They could block with the rook, but I don't think that they will. If they do, I'll just take it. They might block with the pawn, and I'll just take that too, and I think that's mate. So I don't need to take that pawn. They did block with the rook. Okay. All right, well, and supposedly, allegedly, I got 5 points for that as well. Let's see, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, mate in 4. So that's mate in 3 plus. You couldn't see the drop-down menu, but I did add a theme to this puzzle, which was unthemed. Okay, let's see if I can get back up over 2,000 before I hit my 30-minute limit. Again, we start with checks. I have a check. King would only have, no, the king would have 2 legal moves at that point. I don't think it would choose b8, because then I would have mate. So if I checked here, the king would probably come up. They also have a check here. And in that case, there is only 1 legal move, and then I have mate. Correct? There's nothing that they can do about that. They can't block or anything, and I'm not in check. So that was a mistake because it allows this, not because it allows a6. It allows c6 check, queen to c6. Pretty sure. Oh, and it just stopped there. So I can't add a theme of mate in 2 because the king did not do its only legal move, allowing mate. Sometimes a puzzle will have me move a pawn, past pawn, 4 or 5 times, all the way right up to promotion, because those are the best moves in each position. But here, when I had a mate, it wouldn't move 1 more. Oh, that one only has a pass rate of 46%. Okay. And I am up above 2,000. Hopefully this is good for you. If not, I have to do this anyway, and that's why I'm recording these videos. So again, hopefully it's helpful for you as well. I'm doing this to get better at chess. I have a check. I have a check. I think the rook one is bad because they have 2 pieces lined up protecting that square, g8, but they don't have anything protecting this square, and my bishop is currently in trouble. It looks like they only have 1 legal move if I check with the bishop on e5, because my rook is cutting off the g file, so the king would have to go to h7. I would have a follow-up check, and then the king could either go back to the corner, which it doesn't want to do, I think, or up. And if it came up to h6, then what would I do? Wait, I should have followed that out, right? But instead I saw something else. Okay, what about this? The king comes up. Instead of checking with my g-rook, check with my c-rook. Because nothing's guarding that square. They could block with the rook or the bishop, right? But either way, I could just take. So I don't think they would. King comes up. I check with this rook. The king can't go back because my bishop's still cutting off that square. My rook's still cutting off all of these, so it would have to go up. And again, what do I do when it gets to h6? Oh, I check again here, and then that's mate. Bishop to f4. I think that's it. Let's make sure. There's only 1 legal move there, correct? King has to go to h7. I check with the c-rook on c7. Well, that's cut off. There's only 1 legal move, h6. Oh, and that rook down there is now cutting off h7. So when I check with the bishop on f5, the king has nowhere to go because my g-rook is cutting that off too. Okay, that's what I'm going to try then. Okay, c-rook. Oh, they did block with it. Okay. And it stopped there. It didn't take me all the way to mate. Okay. Well, that's frustrating, but at least I'm getting the hang of these. That puzzle was rated 1910. If you are curious, let's keep going. I'm playing with the black pieces. Okay. Well, I can't get out of check to the g file because their king is cutting off all of those squares, right? Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3 choices to get out of check. I also have a pawn very close to promotion, so passed pawn might be a theme of this puzzle. I can also block. Wait, I was going to say that's ridiculous because they would just take, but is it? Because it draws the rook over to the d file. Right now the rook's on the c file, and it likes being on the c file. Well, not there. Because from the c file, it can check me and go back to threaten the pawn or go back to prevent me from promoting. But what if I lured it to the d file? I assume it would take. And then I move out of check here. And then they can't stop my promotion because if the rook goes back there, I'll just take it. I wonder. Let's see. Would they check again? And now they can't go back there even if they decided not to take the knight because then I would take it. So let's see. I assume they would take it. That would allow them to get in front of my d-pawn, but it doesn't help them stop this at all. What are their other options in that case? They can't get their king closer to my pawn at this point because my king is still there. We have the opposition. That's what that's called if you're new to chess, when the 2 kings are facing each other across an empty row. I just learned that last year, so I'm very proud of saying it. I think any opponent I've ever played would take there, but I don't know. And if they did, and if I went to e2, Can they stop the pawn from promoting? I don't think they can without giving up the rook. Can they stop it in any way? They go down there, I take it. That would allow their king to get close to my pawn, but then I could come back and protect my pawn. I'm gonna try blocking knight to d3, which seems really advanced, but just moving out of check doesn't seem great, because then don't they go back and then I have to come back to protect my pawn? Actually, if I came down to one of these squares here, I think their king would get next to my pawn, and I can't dislodge it easily. And if I went there, they could check me again, and then what do I do? Go around, and then they check me, and I come back out? Yeah, I'm blocking with the knight. That was right. Okay, well then nothing else makes sense other than to go to e2, and then I promote with check, I think. Hopefully. Oh, and I got 6 points for that. That puzzle was rated 2100. I said it felt a little advanced, and it has a very low pass rate of 35%. Decoy deflection. I think that's what that was. I deflected the rook off the D file. I mean, off the C file onto the D file, which is where I wanted it. Well, I didn't want it where it was. And the passed pawn was a theme. Promotion. Sacrifice. I guess that counts as a sacrifice. Although they didn't have to take it. I don't know what else they could have done. Simple. I'm going to thumbs down simple. Again, the word simple might mean something different in chess than it does in regular life. But I live most of my life outside of chess, and this one did not seem simple at all. Hey, well, except for that one that I failed when I was distracted by the points not counting, I'm doing pretty well. And yes, I'm going to use that as an excuse. When the website that I'm using to record my video fails, it is frustrating and distracting. Because I'm not just getting better at chess, I'm also recording for content, trying to do multiple things at one time. All right. Well, I can't stop that pawn. Let's just, let's clear that up. Because again, their king has the opposition. We're seeing this 2 puzzles in a row. Their king has the opposition. I can't get past their king to stop that pawn over there. And I can't get past this because not only does their king have the opposition here, it's got it all the way around it. So I actually cannot get to that pawn before it promotes. For that matter, I don't even think I can get to that one because, I have to go around this big box around the king. And by the time I get there, even their rear pawn could promote. It would be protected by their king right here. So they could promote either one of those pawns if I tried to chase them. So that means I should not try to chase them. I'm going to guess I should push this pawn. It seems pretty cut and dried. It took me a while to explain my thinking over there, but almost immediately I thought I should probably play b4. I assume they'll take. Let's see, what happens if they don't take? If they don't take, and they push, which they might, I push, push, I push, push, and I promote, but then they also promote. Now, if I push and they take, then I'll take, and then I assume they'll push, push, and I'll promote first, but then they also will promote. Okay, so we have to solve that dilemma. What happens if that's the way it goes? Either way it goes, I'm going to promote one turn before they promote. There was one other option, actually, and that was on that first scenario. If they didn't take and pushed instead, I could take their pawn, and then when they pushed, I would go, and when they pushed, I would promote, and then they would promote. Either way, I would promote one turn before them. So does it make a difference on which one of those squares I promote to? Yes, it does make a difference. I need to promote in the corner to keep them from promoting. Okay, so that meant there was a fourth scenario. I push, and they don't want me to take and promote in the corner, so they'll take. But then instead of taking and forcing myself to promote on the B file, when they take, I'll push this one past, and then they'll push, and I'll push, and they'll push, and I'll push, and they'll push, and I'll promote in the corner, keeping them from promoting. We figured it out. That's got to be it. They did take. I'm going to go straight forward for that reason. They went to protect the corner square. But that means that their pawn won't get to promote at all, right? Because they wasted a move with their king. So now when I move, and they move, I move, they move, I promote. They get to go one more, but they haven't promoted yet. And then I get to check them. Probably here. And then they would have to move up, and then I don't know what I would do because they have more pawns and I can't sacrifice, but I'm going to move. I'm going to move my pawn. What else can I do, right? They also might push this one right now. I don't know. They didn't. Okay. Well, I have no other moves that make any sense. It made me go all the way to there, but then... Come on, chess.com. All those moves were completely easy and almost forced because no king move made sense, and pawns can only go forward. But to stop there, knowing that I would have a conundrum once they pushed this pawn. Sorry, I've got to go to the analysis board. That was it, right? No, promoting was it. But what happens when they move here? That's got to be their best move, right? It is. Well, also king to f7, because they're in a bad way either way according to the computer. But what if they played here? Oh, two moves that make sense. That's why it doesn't matter. a2 check, which either forces them in front of the pawn or up. Or a8 check, which is what I suggested, which would force them up. But then what? I can't keep their pawn from promoting, right? I have to go up. It says it doesn't matter, but what if they went here hoping to guard this square? Then I go back. What's to keep them from going here? It says my best move is to repeat. And it says it doesn't matter which one of these they go to, but I guarantee you it does matter, because now it's saying I should go here again. That's my best move, and the only move that's not losing is here. And again, it says it doesn't matter what they do, whether they go to g6 or h6, but if they go here and I have to check back down there again, the game's over and it's a draw. Okay, I do have two moves here, so I can't go back down here. That's a repetition. It's a draw, so I have to check here. Okay, queen to a2 check. Well, I know they don't want to go there because they get in front of their pawn and they want to promote that pawn. So they go to g7. Yeah, now see, it says I can go back, but I can't because we've been in that position more than twice already. If I go back to a1, it's a draw. So Stockfish's 16 is incorrect about that. And I know it doesn't take into account the rules of draw on these websites. And I also know that in, I think, FIDE, I think it doesn't force the draw until 5 times. On 3 times you can claim it, but it's not forced until 5 times or something like that. But on these websites, if you do it 3 times, it's over. If I was playing a game on this site and moved back to a1 now, like Stockfish suggests, that's a draw. So I have to check here. Okay. Well, they want to repeat, right? Now it says it doesn't matter, but it does, again, because we don't want a repetition. So I have to check on b3. They want to repeat. So now I have to check. Okay, see, now I've worked my way up. I can do something other than repeating and get them away from the pawn. But then they could still promote if I don't defend it. Oh, that's... I think I would have to, in a game, yeah, see, this puzzle, I did find the right moves. But afterwards, I'm going to have trouble winning this because very quickly my opponent's going to try to repeat by just going back and forth here like they have been. I think my best move would be the second one here, queen to c3 check. I should just try to work my way closer because otherwise we're going to end up in a repetition. They want to repeat, so they're going to go here. It says mate in 33 if I go back to where I was. Well, we know that's not true because they're going to repeat. And minus 96 if I take here. What about this? I'm curious. Okay, still minus 96. Well, they want to repeat. So I'm going to keep zigzagging up here. It does say d4. Okay. Well, let's try that. That's what I would have to do. I've gone over 30 minutes now, but I had to figure this part out. Yeah, I'm gonna continue doing this stair step the whole way to keep them from being able to promote that pawn and forcing me to sacrifice my queen for it. Okay, let's say they go back down here. It says queen to e7 is best now, and then they would promote. Wait, no, king to e7. Oh, sorry. I was like, that didn't make sense. King to e7, then they would promote, and then I would check on d5. They would have to go behind the pawn, or in front of the pawn as the case may be. Then I would check over here. It says they would come straight out where they would be defending that queen. I would check on g5. They would go back. They couldn't come over here because of my king. And then I would bring my king wow, really? My best move here is king to e7. Oh, I probably won't play that in a game. They promote. That makes sense. Okay, I check here. They can't go here or here because of my king. I don't know why they wouldn't go to g7. It says that makes mate even faster. So let's say they played their best move. I check over here. Whoops. I check on h5. They go to g7 because, well, they only have 2 choices. But if they go down there, I have mate immediately. Okay. So they go here. I check on g5. They go back. It's their only legal move. Then I play king to f7 because if they go here, that's mate. And they don't have a legal king move. So they're going to push a pawn. If they push a pawn or move the queen to anywhere that's not check, then I have mate immediately, depending on where they move their queen or if they move their queen. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Take into account whenever you're analyzing a position, especially an endgame position or a wand position with Stockfish, These lines here only, as far as I can tell, in my experience a couple of years, these lines only take into account the position on the board. They do not take into account whether or not you've just repeated moves. We saw here that the engine kept suggesting that I repeat, and in one case said it was much better to repeat than to do what I did instead. But if I had repeated, it would have been a draw in any game I've ever played online, and probably any game I've ever played in person. The opponent would have claimed the threefold repetition. So keep that in mind when looking at Stockfish. All right. Well, it's time to wrap this up. I've gone well over my 30 minutes because I just didn't see what would happen there after they pushed that pawn. Well, hopefully you got something out of this. Wish me well as I continue to attempt improvement at chess. I'll see you next time.